Smiley. 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 What?
Never kill video. Never kill video. Never kill soon. Leave soon.
Yeah? Yeah. If not,
They brought a cable now where you take it up that time. Uncle, we get only you see tiny two cable together like this. You can't get small jack. I beg you for
I won't add the video. Read our play.
which video?
The documentary and the video.
We are not streaming.
I'm not sure. I can close this thing.
See, alive at the one copy of Ah, so that at any point in time, those people speaking must fail his own on the phone and give that phone full host access. Every phone will need full host access. So that people at any time, maximally, plus all here, phone a woman. Do it on your phone. See what is this? Who's doing this? Who is doing this? Who is doing this? Who is doing this? Who is doing this? Am I punching? And what happened now? Instagram. So want them to start so that we can start. Instagram. So 1 hour. Can you change your background? Picture ló wà lórí co-host yẹn lórí account Zoom títí wọ́n mi ṣe fẹ́ fi ṣe tó bá yẹ bí company logo or something. Picture wà bẹ́ẹ̀ gan sorry access ẹ̀ ṣàkàn wá tó lè sáré lo phone to change spotlight. Same network tá ní issue náà ni wọ́n máa fi change. Fóònù ẹ̀ atẹ́kùn yẹn mi ì nẹ́ni ìjò lórí fóònù yìí o. Network. Airtel. No àti watch anything lórí íńtánẹ́ẹ̀tì wọ́n máa lọ but àwa là ń upload. Ọmọ fóònù náà wà as a meeting fóònù kan lọ síbẹ̀ tó spotlight ẹ̀ nìyí. Because Zoom yẹn náà máa ti sọ̀rọ̀. So you have access on your phone. Anywhere láti sálọ tó rẹ̀. Yeah. The sound on YouTube is not good. Sound on YouTube is not good. Remove this thing. I'm using it to power it. That's why I said don't remove it. I didn't want it. Don't match it on. I'm a and audio, I guess. I'm getting all those from here. So I'm going to have that the audio is not coming from here. You're not getting anything. I'm not getting anything. I'm a sides of the core and not strong. The view of our distinguished personalities, the impression. Once again, class, each and every one of you, good persons, as a distinguished this morning. You know you are doing Zoom. You know you are doing Zoom. Don't blind them. Let them see what is happening before they come and shout at you. Thank you very much for being here, sir. Appreciate your presence. You.
earlier than that, and that's because the man that we've been waiting for, I'm talking about the governor of Lagos State, the team leader, an achiever, a visionary leader, a man who has Lagos State at the center of his heart. Please welcome with me, as we rise and applaud, the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. Please can we applaud Mr. Governor? Please applaud Mr. Governor. He is not alone this morning. Even from the federal capital territory, the National Assembly, we have
IG.
Senator of Beijing family. Thank you very much for being here. Mr. Governor is very welcome. And we say that say congratulations for scoring another first in this great nation called Nigeria. Taking this lead, being proactive as usual. He sees it long before it happens, and that is why today this roadmap is being launched. Mr. Governor, thank you for being there in Lagos and indeed Nigeria. Very well, Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. Thank you very much, sir, for being here. Governor that has touched every sector, from health, education, to agriculture, to justice, to security. Technology is one their jobs. They got the lead among the primitive nations, not just in Nigeria, but in South Africa.
We are the ones stealing the thing now. Yes, sir. Because people have been complaining that it's on now. Now, before now, it's not on. Yes. It's on now. You don't know, maybe. I know. Yes. Feeding you the feedback. Yes, they've been bringing the feedback to us.
Indeed, since there's no nation without farmers. I'm sure Mr. Governor is the number one farmer in Nigeria at this point in time. Please once again applaud Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. Thank you very much, Mr. Governor. Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen.
I'm sure this thing is taking direct audio.
And before we settle down, I take the indulgence of this very wonderful gathering to note that what Lagos is doing today has not been done by any other state in the Federation. And if no other state has done it, some of the federal government too, yes too. So Lagos State is leading. You're very welcome, Mr. Governor, the governor that makes first. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, to formally commence this launch of the Lagos State Agricultural and Food Systems Roadmap, may we all rise as we will take the national anthem.
God bless Nigeria. God bless Lagos State. Thank you very much. The governor of Lagos State, the governor of fests, the governor that leads and gives a worthy example to other states of the Federation. The governor that has been aptly tapped, Kosheleri governor. The governor who does not need to tell us about his past and his escapades in school, because we already have noted from his 2 years in office that he is a governor that comes first all the time. So probably in school, he was always in the bracket of firsts. A team player, a leader, a friend of the people, very visionary, very decisive, and futuristic in all that he does. A man that very many have acclaimed has a heart of God and a love for God. I'm talking about the governor of Lagos State, Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. The deputy governor of Lagos State, a partner in progress, a man that has at the epicenter of his heart Project Lagos, and therefore will do nothing else but ensure that Lagos continues to grow in leaps and bounds, and it is indeed the envy of all other states of the Federation. A man that is a moving encyclopedia of all that is Lagos and all that is good in Lagos. I'm talking about none other than Mr. Deputy Governor, Dr. Kadri Obafemi Hamzat. Members of the Lagos State House of Assembly here present, particularly the Chairman, House Committee on Agriculture and Cooperatives, Honorable Kehinde Joseph, and all the lawmakers here present. Chairman, Senate Committee on Judiciary, Public Petitions and Security, our own Senator Okpeyemi Bamidele. Members of the House of Representatives here present, especially those that are online with us at this event. Members of the State Executive Council, particularly the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture and Cooperatives, a woman that is an encyclopedia of agricultural inputs and agricultural sector, a dynamic woman, a woman that is all-encompassing when it comes to agriculture. She doesn't need to look at the books. She has it in her heart. I'm talking about the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture, Miss Abisola Olusoya, and all other members of the State Executive Council here present. Mr. Governor, I need to say particularly that the State Executive Council has turned out in their numbers, and I crave their indulgence to please be upstanding for recognition as we applaud all those men and women who have partnered with Mr. Governor thus far to make sure that Eko Ogbagbere, it is the #1 state in the Federation. Members of the State Executive Council. Thank you very much. the body of permanent secretaries here present this morning, who are also partners in progress with Mr. Governor, particularly the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Agriculture and Cooperatives, Mr. Hakeem Adeniji. Our fathers, the GAC members here present, particularly in no order, our APC chairman in Lagos State, Honorable Alhaji Tunde Balogun. Our father, Honorable Alhaji Tajuddin Olusi. Cardinal James Odumbaku. His Excellency, Honorable Abiodun Ogunleye. Our father, Chief Olorunfunmi Bashorun. Ashikpa Kauli Olusoya. Our royal fathers and custodians of our tradition and culture here present, particularly our royal father of the day, His Royal Majesty, the Olowo Eko, Kábíyèsí, Ọba Rilwan Akiolu, the Oba of Lagos. Kábíyèsí o. And other traditional rulers here present included the Ayongbunre of Ikorodu land, Kábíyèsí Ọba Kabir Shotobi. Kábíyèsí the Elegushi of Ikate land, Ọba Dr. Sahid Elegushi. The immediate past Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture and Cooperatives in Lagos State, the custodian of the tradition and culture of Iru Kingdom, Kábíyèsí, the Oniru of Iru Kingdom, His Royal Majesty, Ọba Omogbolahan Abdulwase Lawal, Kábíyèsí o. The Alara of Ilara Kingdom, Ọba Olufolarin Ogunsanwo, Kábíyèsí. The Ranodu of Imota, the kingdom that houses the biggest and the greatest rice mill in Africa. I'm talking of His Royal Majesty, Ọba Ajibade Bakare Agoro, Kábíyèsí. All other white-cap chiefs here present, all other APC chieftains here present, particularly the APC woman leader in the Southwest, Chief Mrs. Kemi Nelson, ably represented by Honorable Yinka Babalola, and the APC woman leader in Lagos State, Honorable Jumoke Okoya Thomas. MDs of banks here present, the organized private sector here present, our partners in the agricultural sector here present, facilitators, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Lagos State is indeed the state to belong. True or true? If you are not in Lagos, you are nowhere in Nigeria. If you're not part of the vision of Lagos, then sight Nigeria. I'd like to invite to the microphone the woman like no other, the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture in Lagos State. Please put your hands together for Miss Abisola Olusoya as she comes to the microphone.
I'm sorry. She know they tire our mama de bam bam. We know they tire our mama de bam bam. No farmer, no farmer, no farmer. Thank you very much. God bless you. Good morning, everybody. Please, Mr. Governor, sir. Good morning, Mr. Deputy Governor. Good morning. Permit me to stand on existing protocols, because if I am to read out the names of everyone seated here today, we wouldn't end this lunch. Thank you very much for indulging me, sir. But I would also like to recognize the commandant of the Nigerian Armed Forces Resettlement Center, AVM MA Idris. Thank you for coming, sir. It is indeed an honor, it is indeed a privilege to stand before the greatest men and women in Lagos State on such a day as this, the 22nd day of the month of April 2021. I don't think I'll ever forget this day in my life, that almost the entire Lagos is standing still to come to the launch of the Lagos State Agricultural and Food Systems 5-year roadmap launch. I don't think this has ever been done before. It's not been done by any other state. But then, that is why we have Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, the visionary leader of our state, the center of excellence, the city of aquatic splendor. That is the roadmap. The journey to this point started right from the inception of this administration of my visionary leader, a man whom I refer to as Daddy Governor, a mentor in whose administration I have been given the opportunity to serve the most dynamic, vibrant, and energetic people on the face of the earth, Lagosians. Kickstarting with stakeholder engagement, several workshops around addressing the needs of the agric ecosystem.
It very must happen. All ministries, departments, and agencies, and I'm happy to see members of the organized private sector, the very local people from indigenous communities, bilateral and multilateral partners from the World Bank. Everybody is here. If we all work together, getting the delivery of the outcome that we so desire is absolutely reachable. Distinguished audience, the Lagos State Agriculture and Food Systems Roadmap will go a long way to close the inequality gap that has been evident in this country in the last 3 decades, and will ultimately lead to a
rice mill, just to bring out the products out as fast as possible. Just as we're doing that as well, even for Ekpe, my sister, the vision is clear, the road is clear. We can only continue to pray that God will enable you and strengthen.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Governor, Mr. Deputy Governor. Please permit me to stand on existing protocols. I'd like to congratulate to come and help us at future events. The PPP office is working with the Ministry of Agriculture, and we have the Motor Rice Mill, which we're currently taking through a procurement process. We have various incentives for fish. We have the Bonla Aquaculture Center, and there are also opportunities in the red meat vault. We are here to help. We understand that private capital needs security, and we're here to do that. So once again, congratulations. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Engineer Mrs. Ayoye and Mr. Okwe George. Thank you very much, sirs and ma. Mr. Governor, Mr. Deputy Governor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, at an event such as this, I'm almost certain that everyone will have something to say in terms of goodwill messages that contributed in no small measure to the growth of food security around this region. Please, could you welcome for
State Government of Lagos for the launching of the Lagos State Agricultural and Food System Roadmap 2021 to 2025.
All these ideas, but it is better the government goes and come, we keep it forever.
Once again, the Lagos of our dreams, an all-inclusive Lagos. I think she deserves a better round of applause. your applause.
Conditions. It spans over 92 hectares with over 100,000 square meters of storage, daily processing of 450 trucks, repackaging, branding, cold and dry storage system. The abattoir is where cattle, goats, the repackaging area consisting of rebagging and palletizing areas. This system has the capacity to
80% of what we consume is coming from other parts of the country, or we have there from the private sector who are doing great things. Culture is the future. We've seen what COVID-19 can do to the security of the state, and not just the state insecurity. We have seen what a bottle
shelf life. But we also heard about logistic challenges, because no matter how you produce, if you don't move the food around, there's a big challenge. And then there are things around funding and investments. Mr. Governor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Lagos has taken several steps, one of which is we are building the largest rice mill in Africa, right? And that is focused on the rice consumption in Lagos. We flagged off the greenhouse estate, leveraging technology for vegetables. We are setting up more functional markets and policies around that. And of course, we talked about LACE, the Lagos Aquatic Center of Excellence, where we are focusing on fish production and processing. And now we have the master plan and the food system roadmap being launched. And unfortunately, we do not have a lot of time, but given your experience and exposure, few words from you can actually change or alter or adjust or tell us the direction in which we should go. So I will just start by asking Ms. Tokema Buguje. You deal with the private sector, you're working with the investment community. How do we begin to harness more investment into this ecosystem with Lagos in mind?
Thank you very much. I hope everyone can hear me. I'd start by saying that a lot of the time when we think of agriculture, we think basically primary production. And when we do look at the value chain, we tend to attack it at different points. We're not taking a holistic view of the agricultural value chain. So a number of things. I'm wearing two hats here because I'm also a business development consultant with SMEs, and I've worked with farmers for a while. First of all, I do not think that the land limitation of Lagos State is a negative. I think we need to change or reorientate our thinking. So the young lady who did the spoken word actually said to us that she's the future of Lagos, and it's the future of agriculture. To get young people engaged, we need to be driving our agriculture with technology. We need to be promoting vertical farms. We need to engage with technology in increasing the yield you talked about and production. Secondly, we need to look at our comparative advantage with all seriousness. Now, Lagos State, a little while back, entered into an MOU with Kano. What was the concern? They were looking at the leather value chain. The Lagos Chamber, under COVID, held a webinar with the tanneries in Kano. What exactly is the issue here? We have a Kano-Lagos memorandum of understanding, and it doesn't seem to be going anywhere. And what did they say to us, which I found very interesting? That in the tanning of skin, they in the north They skin small animals, so they are experts in that area. They have tried forever to get larger skins from Lagos, and they said that Pomo was getting in their way. So I said, how does Pomo get in the way? You know, because of culture and use of skin. In the north, they skin the animals whole. Here, because at the abattoirs, they're feeding the market for food, they chop the cow into pieces. Now, you can imagine a simple element like that. Leather earns us millions of dollars in export revenue. So this huge abattoir that I'm now being told, the modern abattoir, will slaughter 4,000 cattle a day. Do we, in that plan to exploit the leather export market with larger skin? There's fisheries. I used to work in government in the 80s. I was in the Ministry of Justice. In those days, and up till now, when the ships come in, they come in with cargo, but they leave empty. You know what they do? They get into our territorial waters and they dredge the ocean. All our grade A shrimps, all our grade A seafood is taken free of charge. And these things are sold abroad. So what is the plan in Lagos State in extending fisheries to begin to make it easier for Nigerians to own trawling businesses to actually go into fishing big time? I'm not saying there isn't a place for the fish ponds, but that's because we're looking smallholder farmers. If we want to industrialize, we need to be thinking big. And then, of course, Mr. Waledu made a lot of points around information being available. As the president of the Lagos Chamber, I receive delegations on a weekly basis from other countries in the world. What they expect me to tell them is, how easy is it to invest here? What's the information you need? We need to claw these things off the internet. So it would be nice to have this information disseminated very quickly. Access to finance has always been a problem, but even with that problem, agriculture has always contributed as much as 30% to GDP. So imagine if we could further de-risk agriculture, because like you said, the issue is risk. So let's find a way of de-risking, more credit guarantee schemes. CBN is here, and they can speak also to that fact. We need to make financing easier. And I think, not to take up much more time, I will quickly say something about the knowledge of farmers. The farmers are here. I was very interested in the fact that that statement, no nation, no farmer, was actually coined by me in 2008 when I had to deal with farmers for the first time. And I had never heard the song, Great Nation, Great Farmers. I said, how about no nation, no farmers? Everybody needs to eat. So we were dealing with them on 4 value chains: cocoa, aquaculture, cassava, and maize. With cassava, there was this impression that there was a glut in cassava. Here we are, the largest producer of cassava in the world, but we consume more than 90% of it. In trying to talk to the farmers about the cassava chain, we had a processor come in. And the processor said that the reason they were not buying the cassava because it was not of the quality that they need for industrial purposes. We have to have that industrial outlook to farming. Our farmers need to be educated about that through extension workers and all the other people involved. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was quite a word. One of the things you said was focusing on our comparative advantage to just ensure that we expand that horizon. Need to harmonize the needs of markets, don't destroy value which other markets might want.
Commissioner for Health, Mr. Deputy Governor, for such a time as this. A time of reality, a time of going forward, a time to do Lagos State and Nigeria proud. Now, talking about financing, Mr. Wale Edun said it very clearly, and that's what we think, and that's what we've seen, and I'm sure the CBN director will allude to that. The primary thing is to have a vision. Today, the vision has been made clear. So it's very clear where Lagos State wants to go to. The mission, I believe, is for everyone, but in particular, the private sector. And so I'm not just going to talk about bringing the people who are getting involved. Then somebody will say, how will every person get involved in Lagos State? That's why the lead speaker used the word granular. We need to bring out the granular documentation of all of these things. And so the Ministry of Agri will be there to help and support people from every local government. And good enough, all local governments in Lagos State, there was a research done in Federal Ministry of Science and Technology some years back. Every local government in Lagos State can produce something. It's very interesting. And is it a mirage? No. Because if you look at the economic aspect and financing in Netherlands that has a similar environment to Lagos State, you can get a direct proportional relationship between what they stand for in the agri sector, how they finance it, and how the outcomes are for the financing and development contribution to GDP.
Thank you very, very much, Mrs. smallest country in the world, yet number 2 in the export of food. And therefore, what you are saying is that our size in Lagos cannot be a challenge, right? We can rise up and outproduce even countries with larger arable land. Yusuf, I think you spent a lot of time in your life working around development financing and designing products in this space as well as in other spaces. Would you like to just throw a little bit of light, because you've been quite successful in the products that you have designed, as to how the system needs to respond differently to be able to assess and harness a lot of the ideas that you have, the CBN, yourself, and what you have seen around the world dropped on the table in respect to funding the agric business?
Thank you very much, Sam. Let me join fellow panelists in congratulating the Governor of Lagos State for his visionary leadership and the plan that is being launched today. Let me also confess that anytime as a central bank, especially the development finance team, will present to the governors, the first person to call me, after the presentation is the Governor of Lagos State, asking me, how can Lagos key into this? How can the central bank, make it, easy for Lagos State? What concessions can we make? So it just shows the kind of leadership that he has. As a central bank, we take agriculture very seriously. Our portfolio of over 6 trillion in interventions that we have today, agric forms 30% of that portfolio. There's so many products that we have either built in or we're in the process of releasing, just to ensure that as a country we achieve national food security. Working with the various subnationals, we've developed things like the Anchor Borrower program, which is our flagship program. We've spent close to 600 billion as at today in various food commodities. We're launching a very large-scale wheat program. We import close to 6 million metric tons of wheat annually. We produce just 60,000 metric tons. Lagos State has most of the mills that we mill this wheat. So we look forward to how Lagos, landlocked. I mean, having small, over around 3,000 square kilometers for me is not a disadvantage. But like the other speakers have said, Lagos can partner with other states. We're ready to provide the right products, the right financing, to be able to ensure that Lagos State can take land in other states like Niger or Kwara, who have very large land mass, and then bring the wheat to come and be milled in its state. One of the biggest challenges in funding over time is in the agri sector is how both smallholder farmers and commercial farmers can approach the deposit money banks and other financial institutions. Total lending today in the agri sector is less than 4% of the entire lending. If you look at comparative development countries, in India it's 18%. Last year, Governor Emefiele said he wants it to move from 4% in the next 4 years to 10% of total lending, so that we can achieve food security. So quite a lot is being done. You can't go into a depositing bank today as an agric, either a smallholder farmer or a commercial-based farmer, to ask. They'll ask you for all sorts of things. Ask you for your father, your mother, all sorts of collateral. But what we've done as a central bank is to say, look, why don't we put in place a national microfinance bank that is going to exist in all the 774 local governments in the country, so that all smallholder farmers can approach the national microfinance bank, and with limited, even in some cases, uncollateralized products, they can access the facility. Our biggest challenge has been productivity as a country. Take maize, for instance. We have national consumption 15 million metric tons. We do maybe around 11.5. How do we ensure that we can bridge this gap using high yield seeds, bringing in more people into the net, providing structured products, lending products, like you said, so that they can access them easily, and then we can cut down our food import bill. So Lagos State can take advantage of the Anchor Borrower program. Land is not an issue. They can always go to other states. We also have what you call the Accelerated Agri Development Scheme, which is really a large populous state, bringing youths together, either pairing them as cooperatives, or giving them the implements and the inputs to be able to go and do this cultivation. And then the central bank, working with the National Commodity Exchange, will guarantee the offtake of such produce. Because it's one thing for you to be able to embark on this agricultural activity. If there's no minimum support price mechanism or there's nobody to be able to offtake these things, the cycle will not continue. So there's a whole bouquet of products available that I believe that Lagos State, with the right leadership, will be able to take from the central bank. Not only in agri, we're already partnering on other infrastructure related products with Lagos.
Okay, thank you very much, Yusuf Yila. A round of applause for him. It's clear that with 600 billion out there, those monies did not go to the air, they went to people, and therefore you made the point that more people can access. If people have already accessed, there's more that can be done. You did speak a lot about partnership, especially Lagos positioning itself as a processing center. You spoke also about aggregation of smallholder farmers into cooperative and the idea of yield in production. Talking about all of this, we will be looking at the enterprise itself, because really, Dr. Misawishka talked about the private sector, right, and talked about what the private sector can do, right, also working with the government. Ramesh, you are in the private sector doing great things, and we really want to learn from your experience as to what we need to do in terms of ensuring the agric enterprise ecosystem thrives, so that the businesses in that system begins to grow larger and larger in a sustainable way. The Commissioner for Agri did talk about Olam, beginning from Kelwarams and Olam is now bigger, and all over the world. So what's your experience, and how will Lagos, and I say Lagos now, not as in Lagos State Government, Lagos, combine to really build that ecosystem of enterprises?
Thank you for the opportunity, and good afternoon to all of you. I'm here on behalf of the TGI Group, which was founded in Lagos 41 years back. And the founders at that time also had the vision of ensuring that we support the government in food security measures and be seen as a trusted food security partner. I must say that 41 years later, with 10 processing centers in place across the country, with representation on the ground with over 20 states, employing over 10,000 people, we seem to be making the right moves. I think as an organization, we have quality experiences of the city and of the country, wherein we can say that much progress has been made. We think the mindset is great. We think companies like ours have the appetite to make things happen. Having said that, I do believe that we all need to change the picture of agriculture from the original small-scale sector farmer struggling over 1 hectare of land, barely managing enough for sustenance. I think that picture has to change. That picture has to change for a couple of reasons. One is that we all know that man is producing babies, but God is not producing land. So land really has to get far, far, far more effective for us to be able to deliver the kind of promise that we make to our people. That is number one. Number two, the average age of the African farmer, which cannot be different for Nigeria or Lagos, is 72. The average age of the continent is 21. There is a clear mismatch. What are we talking about? The young, talented, hardworking, clever people of the continent are not working in farming. And that's a trend we all have seen. Simply because, like the passionate, inspiring speech of the commissioner told us, all the young people from the farmlands are coming to the cities. And they're coming here because they'd rather depend on a daily wage, which is guaranteed, than wait forever for the rains to stop, or the soil to give up, or the chemicals or the seeds to just go bad on them. And then they're poor again. So that is not a formula that can work. Now, the reason I'm giving you this background is because Lagos as a state, with its limitation of land, has to be clear that our roadmap has to be smart. And our roadmap has to be smart and of the quality that attracts the young talent into it. We can win only if that happens. Therefore, the first definition we really need is to figure out what do we want to be. Do we want to be a processing hub, a food tech hub, an agri-tech hub, or a storage and logistics champion? We have to decide that. Or, yes, like you suggest, all of it. We can be all of it, and given the land constraint, let's call it constraint for now, that we have, it is possible that we can be smart about it. One thing that I don't think we are really leveraging is that Lagos is also seen as the tech hub of West Africa, if not Africa. Why are we not leveraging it? Why are we not employing 20, 30, 40 of them to work out solutions for us that will make our life that much easier? Like the commissioner said, data is going to be central to our victory, which means we need all these guys coming together, supporting us as a government and as a public sector to make that count for us. Bottom line is that the young, smart minds that are currently prevalent in Lagos, and there are plenty of them, we need to make them work for us. And we can make them work for us only if the task is rewarding, it's exciting, and the future is visible to them. The plan for the future that you've already laid out, that is clear. Food processing, food storage, probably food supplies back to the rest of the country is one place that Lagos can score. And if that is the process that we want to follow, then that is a plan we must have, so that the young people can get excited about the fact that there is something beyond just that 1 hectare farming that agriculture and food entails. There is so much technology in the world around food and food processing that we can easily harness that. The big advantage of being behind the cycle really is that we can borrow from the very best. We don't have to go through the learning cycle all over again. So why don't we do that? But I think the first step, Commissioner, is that we need to benchmark ourselves now against the world's best. We must stop comparing ourselves to Africa and other states in Nigeria and all that stuff. We are beyond that. We are much, much better, much, much beyond that. So let's pick up the best in the world and let's see how are we faring against them. If that means we need to import people from there, or technologies from there, or ideas from there, so be it. That, I think, is really the winning formula for food and agriculture in Lagos.
Thank you very much, Ramesh. The experience which you bring to the table is indeed very clear in the conversation which we are having today. You're talking about the fact that entities rise out of adversity, including your company, the TGI Group. Therefore, adversity must not be an impediment. You talked about yields. We must focus on how to ensure that our farmland yield much more than it's currently yielding. You talked about something that is very close to the Honorable Commissioner for Agri's heart, how we get the young people into the farm, looking at the aging population and what we need to do both as business people and as government to facilitate that transition. And then you spoke a lot about food processing, food storage, and food logistic base, basically, and to say which of these do you want to be, especially when you are not as well endowed on the land side as you can. And you said something that is always close to my heart because it aligns us well with the vision of Lagos State, which to be Africa's mega city, a global economic hub, meaning that we should not again limit ourselves to comparison within Nigeria, but begin to look at best practices around the world. Mr. Governor, Mr. Deputy Governor, distinguished guest, we've come to the end of this panel session, but there are a lot of learning points which we must take away. The fact that the job for the Agric roadmap and the outcome of it has to do with actions that we must all take, whether those of us that are in government or the private sector, we must act collaboratively. And which is why the byline for Lagos is everybody putting his hands together to make Lagos great. We saw this happen throughout the COVID period, the partnership between government and the private sector, and what the panelists are saying is that it works. That partnership must continue. We also heard about things around logistics, around processing, and around storage. And if you saw one of the videos which the Honorable Commissioner for Agric did present, is that the entire market systems, which incorporate food processing, storage, and the logistic base is part of the plan, right? And it's something we are deeply focusing about because it helps us a lot in what Mrs. Awochika talked about, bringing clarity to the value chain, de-risking the entire process, and therefore being able to attract investments and funding into that space. So the roadmap is on course. It seems to have covered a lot of the bases which we'll want to look at, which our distinguished panelists have mentioned. I would like to thank every one of our panelists for the perspective which you've brought, and would like to congratulate the Honorable Commissioner of Agriculture in this particular launch because it appears that we are well within course in the idea and the content of the plot. Thank you very much. Thank you, our panelists. Thank you. Thank you.
Please, can we applaud our panelists once again? Thank you, the Honorable Commissioner and Moderator. Thank you, all our panelists. Another round of applause for every one of them, please. Mr. Governor, Mr. Deputy Governor, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, what is about to happen next reminds me of that song that we used to sing in school. And it goes thus. Iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ níṣẹ́ ilẹ̀ wa, ẹni kò ṣiṣẹ́. And with that song, please can we welcome the Lagos State troupe on arts and culture as they treat us to some of those tunes and much more. A round of applause for the arts and culture group.
Ọ̀kànlá ẹyẹ orí ẹyọ ìsàlẹ̀ Èkó tí wọ́n ní wọ́n mí ṣe lẹ́bàá lẹ́nu ọwá ibẹ̀ rọ́tàdé adé orí ọba ẹ̀bà wá pàdé. Èkó lé o. Èkó rọ́mísàlẹ̀gbẹ́ ní gbogbo èèyàn tó rẹ̀ bẹ̀ mo ní ẹ mọ́mọ́ sáfúra. Èkó ilé owó, Èkó ilé iṣẹ́, Èkó ilé omi ni, Èkó arọ́mísàlẹ̀gbẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́ ní ilẹ̀ tó kún fún wàrà àti oyin ni. Iṣẹ́ àgbẹ̀ nílùú Nàìjíríà ó ṣe kókó, ó ṣe pàtàkì torí àtijẹ àti mú wa náà ni. Ṣùgbọ́n nílùú Èkó níbí torí omi tó yí wa ká ló yẹ ká mú ṣe ẹja ipa ní ṣíṣe. Ó yẹ ẹ wá wò ó, ẹ wá wò ó, ẹ wá wò ó bá a ti ṣe.
Bẹ́ẹ̀tù o.
Ọlọ́kọ̀ yìí o, ò bá dúró rà mí lẹ́rù o, òbèlè àlọ́wọ́ ìwọ́lọ́ o. Ẹ̀wọ̀n lọ́lọ́pọ̀ ẹ̀wẹ̀ jà. Gèdègbè ló dúró. Gèdègbè ló dúró. Oríṣiríṣi ẹja ní ọbẹ̀ nílùú Èkó níbí. Ẹja pọ́ ń bẹ, ẹja ọsàn ń bẹ, ẹja àpátamàgà ń bẹ, ẹja kúta ń bẹ, àpátamàgà ń bẹ, ẹja kùgbẹ́ngbẹ́ nílùú Èkó arómisálẹ̀ gbẹlẹ́gbẹlẹ́gbẹlẹ́gbẹ́. Èkó táǹkì sáré lẹ́sẹ̀ méjì lọ ọmọ òsà ní ẹsẹ̀ ẹmọ́tò kútere òsà gbòbí agbowó kútere àsìgbò gidi orí lọ́wọ́ ẹni ọmọ méjì wọjà wọn ànígbẹ́ndẹ́kẹ́ ọ̀bùn wọjà wọn apẹ́sìọ́ ọ̀bùn sí ọ̀sán náà rẹ̀ rú àfíjú rẹ̀ lé o. Èkó ìlú omi, Èkó ìlú ẹja, alábàlúbòdòkodò, Èkó arómisálẹ̀ gbẹ, ọmọ òsà ní ẹsẹ̀ ẹmọ́tò kútere òsà gbòbí agbowó kútere àsìgbò gidi lọ́wọ́ ẹni. Gọ́vùnà Babájídé Sanwó-Olú ó ṣe ẹbẹ nínú ọ̀rọ̀ Èkó. Bàbá mi pa àlàlù baríkẹ́ èèyàn ọkùnrin akínní títí sí akínní. Gọ́vùnà Babájídé Sanwó-Olú ó ṣe pọ̀ lọ́rọ̀ Èkó. Ọkùnrin akín títí sí akínní ọkùnrin bàbá mi pa adùn ní ó gbẹ̀yìn ọ̀rọ̀. Èkó lé o, Èkó ní ìbàjẹ́ láṣẹ Èdùmàrè ọba mi ó sà òkè. Ó mọ lọ́rẹ́ ó sì mọ bọ́rẹ́ ó yà ó ra òníyàwó kú lọ́la ọlọ́run ọba. Bàbá mi pa àlàlù baríkẹ́ èèyàn. Ogele, obele, 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 obe. Gbẹ̀tú o, kì í dùn lódò. Ọ̀bọ̀kún ń bẹ, ẹja ọsàn ń bẹ, ẹja apọ́ ń bẹ, àpátamàgà ń bẹ, ẹja kútẹ̀ ń bẹ, ẹ wá rẹja o. Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni. Ẹyọ o, ayé ilé ẹyọ o, ẹyọ o, ayé ilé ẹyọ o, ẹyọ bàbá ń ta wá tó fi góòlù ṣeré, ẹyọ bàbá ń ta wá tó fi góòlù ṣe, àwa onísàwọ̀ oníbodè òdìlé.
A round of applause for the culture troupe. I make bold to say that it's only someone or people who have fed very well, especially on one of the strong points of Lagos, and that is fish, that could do what these wonderful men and women have done. Be that as it may, I'd like to quickly let you know that sometime in the year 2020, the Lagos State team, led by Mr. Governor and Mr. Deputy Governor, visited Imota to inspect the Imota rice mill, which will, by the grace of God, produce at least 2.4 million 50 kg bags of rice annually. That was a time when people around the world dared not go out, but the team went out, that people must eat even in a pandemic. Also, the leader of that team, over 600 days ago after assumption of office, have ensured and made it very clear to all Nigerians, particularly Lagosians, that there is a concerted and clearly thought out revival of rebuilding the socio-economic infrastructure, one of which we're witnessing today. This team leader in the education sector did not rest on his oars. He came out and brought a novel inclusion into the education sector, even ahead of the pandemic, Eco Excel. On the 14th of December 2020, he disclosed plans for the Aquaculture Center of Excellence, the fish sites, which will produce about 50 million fish for Lagosians. I would go back a little bit to the 13th of August, year 2020. He promised to revive the Badagry agric potential, particularly the Avia Organic Farm, and also the state's food production park project. This man has touched all facets of the economy. I must not leave out health, which I must say wowed the whole world, where every other state was crumbling under the weight of the pandemic. Lagos stood strong. There is a strong man at the helm of affairs. There is a team player at the helm of affairs. There is a visionary leader at the helm of affairs. Yorubas will say, Tileba Soni, Kawuawo. Lagos is proud because this man has made Lagos proud. He's a man that stands tall among the committee of governors. He is an achiever. If I get it right, I would love for this gathering to applaud a visionary, dynamic, concerted man, a man that says Lagos must continue to be the center of excellence. Please welcome to the podium Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu. Can I hear your applause?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please, let's put a hand of applause for them. Thank you very much. Deputy Governor of Lagos State, Dr. Kadri Obafemi Hamzat, the Chairman, House Committee on Agriculture, who is also representing the Honorable Speaker, Honorable Kehinde Joseph, members of the State Executive Council here in large numbers, especially Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture, Ms. Abisola Bezis Olusoya. Invited cabinet members that are here, we have Prince Adetoye Olabode from Ekiti State. Honorable Commissioner, thank you. Honorable Adewale Adedayo, Honorable Commissioner for Osun State, thank you. Dr. Adeola Odedino, Honorable Commissioner for Ogun State, thank you. They're all here representing their various governors from the various Southwest states. Thank you very much for joining us. As well as the President of the African Development Bank, who also joined us virtually. Body of Permanent Secretary here present, especially the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture. Members of the Diplomatic Corps that are here present, representative of various developmental partners that are here today, donor agencies. We salute you, we greet you, we extend warm greetings to each and every one of you. The Chairman of Lagos State Caretaker Committee, a former Commissioner and also a GAC member, Honorable Tunde Balogun, and other GAC members that are here present, Prince Tajuddin Oluyole Olusi, Baba Bashoron Olorunfunmi, Cardinal James Odubaku, Excellency Abiodun Ogunleye, and Kaoli Ashipa Olusoya, and of course, one of the guest speakers, Mr. Wale Edun. Thank you all very much for being part of this great event. Our royal fathers that are here present, several in large numbers. We'll start with the Olowo Eko himself, Baba Fuad, the Oba of Lagos, Oba Riwon Akiolu, the Oba of Lagos. I think he deserves a round of applause. Thank you very much. With several other Obas, the Ayonbuni of Ikorodu, Oba Kabiru Adewale Shotubi, thank you, sir. The Alara of Ilara, Oba Olufolarin Olukayode Ogunsanwo, thank you, sir. The Randunu of Imota, the Ranodu of Imota, Oba Mutashiru Ajibade Bakari Agboro, before they collect our land, that Imota rice mill. His Royal Majesty, the Elegushi of Ikate land, Oba Said Ademola Elegushi, thank you very much, sir. And His Royal Majesty, the one-time Commissioner for Agriculture, one of the people that laid the foundation of what we're doing today, the Oniru of Iru land, our own Oba Omogbolaon Abdulwasiu Lawal. Thank you very much for coming. A great panelists that have done justice to the discussions of today, Dr. Mrs. Dere Awoshika. Thank you very much, ma'am. The Chairman of the Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mrs. Tokima Bogunje. Thank you. The MD of TGI, Mr. Ramesh. And of course, our own good brother, Mr. Yusuf Philip Yila, the director in CBN. Thank you all very much for coming. The commandant, brand new commandant of the Armed Forces Resettlement Camp in Oshodi, Air Vice Marshal M.A. Yusuf. Thank you so very much for coming. It was nice to see you the other day. Captains of industry that are here, especially our good friend and brother, Mr. Raul Shapara, who is the group CEO for TGI Group. Thank you so very much for coming. One of the futures of tomorrow, Ayomide Ayonike, the youth that came up and said a lot of great things. I acknowledge you, I thank you for the great inspiration you've given all of us. No farmer, no farmer, our great Ogbonge women. I want to acknowledge each and every one of you and all great farmers that are here in the arena today. This event is for you, it's about you, it's for what you stand with. We just want you to see as our own small intervention to be able to aggravate and take your industry to the next sector. So we want to thank each and every one of you for coming out today to join us. Senior government officials that are here present acknowledge you, especially officers in the Ministry of Agri. They are all here seated in white and green. Gentlemen of the press in large numbers that have also come to grace this occasion. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Today is 695 days that this administration has come into power. Out of our 1,460 days, we have used close to 50% of our time. So we have 37 days to celebrate our second anniversary. We'll continue to count our days. We'll continue to know the essence of where we're in government. We'll continue to check ourselves on a daily basis. And we'll continue to ask ourselves, how will prosperity, how will people, how will the chosen ones that we said we will serve, how will they judge us? And so that's why we'll continue to take reference that what you have given to us, we do not take it for granted. And so I'm excited today that another history is being made in Lagos State. Here, we're launching our 5-year agricultural and food security roadmap. At the inception of this administration 695 days ago, we identified food security as a major policy thrust in our government and as a key component under our team's agenda, which I'm sure everybody do know very well by now. This 5-year agricultural roadmap has been designed in line with that agenda to reform, to transform, and to maximize the potentials of the Lagos State agricultural sector. As you all know, Lagos, with a population of over 22 million people, is Nigeria's commercial and economic nerve center. Of course, it sits on a site that is less than 0.4% of the total mass of this country. Of that 0.4, the Olokuns have 1/3 of it. So meaning that the real land mass is far less than 0.4% of the size. We therefore rely on a massive food importation from our neighboring states to sustain the food requirement of our teeming population. We have also had mutually collaborative effort with other states to ensure that food sustenance in our state is an approach that resonates with global best practices that will enable potential levels of planning, advocacy, funding, and collaboration for the entire agricultural development. However, we cannot continue to rely exclusively on such alliances. The time is right for us to unlock our immeasurable agricultural potential through the implementation of a 5-year roadmap that will lead to a wealth generation, that will create value for our people, that will provide for us food security, that will help to industrialize our agricultural sector and will entrench an inclusive social economic development for our state. As a visionary government, we are committed to optimally developing our potential in the food production sector. The adverse effects of the COVID-19 pandemic on food security have further necessitated our immediate action at ensuring that food security for all Lagosians is not just by mouth, it's something that we need to activate like yesterday. With the human and capital resource at our disposal, we should be able to feed ourselves. And as I said, possibly also even export to other parts of the country by becoming self-sufficient in food production and supply. We need to be able to engender sustainable growth through the development of the agricultural sector. The first step towards achieving this is the preparation of a 5-year agricultural and food security roadmap. Let me, at this junction, appreciate the leadership in the Ministry of Agriculture and all of our various consultants at making this promise a reality today. The focus on this 5-year agricultural and food security roadmap is the development of an agricultural value chain where Lagos State has competitive and comparative advantage to enhance the state's self-sufficiency in food production from a meager 18-20% to 40% and possibly 50% over the next 5 years. And we believe that this will also help us achieve our plan on a sustainable development goals agenda for Lagos State. In order to successfully implement our 5-year roadmap, we will take a cue from other economics that have achieved self-sufficiency in food production. We will also aim to put the private sector at the heart of our vision for food security in Lagos. We hope that our government will become an enabler and a catalyst in this sector. We are cognizant of the fact that we must formulate policies that can encourage the private sector's investment in agriculture, and we must provide a robust market information system for agricultural value chain actors for us to have an adequate planning process that will circumvent and will reduce risk and uncertainty in that sector. And I think a lot of our panelists have talked about risk mitigants and all of the things that we need to do to bring about a reduction in that area. Our strategies for a sustainable agricultural development shall focus on the following 3 pillars. First is to ensure that the growing of the upstream sector through the intervention by leveraging technology that are capable of lowering the cost of production of the value chain, be it in fisheries, in poultry, in piggery, in rice farming, in vegetables and coconuts. We believe this will support, we need a lot of support from all of our local and international donor agencies. Secondly, growing the midstream and the downstream sector. The value addition involving processing, handling, storage, cold chain, packaging, utilizing, and commercialization of all important agricultural value chains by leveraging on the huge market with support, again, also from the private sector and the donor agencies. Third, improving private sector participation by developing and initiating policies that will encourage more private investment in agriculture. This will include linking the private sector with our business-friendly creditors. So this will believe, like all the panelists have said, it's something that we need to deliberately realize and be able to create, that sector, that enablement for that sector to thrive. The projection is that the total investment in the agricultural sector from government, the private sector, and the donor agencies will form a deep and a robust partnership. And we're believing that over the next 5 years, investment in the region of close to $10 billion is required, is needed for us to see all of the level of investment we're talking about. Whilst we'll expect that most of this investment will come from the private sector, government will continue to provide the needed infrastructure, while the private sector will be encouraged to lead in all of the key areas. Like some of the MDAs that are partners in that sector have said, our office, our Ministry of Works and Infrastructure will continue to ensure that infrastructure is provided in the critical areas that is required. Our PPP office will continue to ensure that we leverage, ensuring that our PPP model is activated, whilst a lot of private sector players can indeed come in and take their rightful position. And of course, on the budgetary side, with the Ministry of Finance, to ensure that adequate budgetary provisions are also catered for in that sector, to ensure that our own part of the bargain is continuously met. The Lagos State 5-year agricultural roadmap, therefore, is the most appropriate tool needed to unleash the huge capacity of Lagosians to produce the most of the consumed agricultural products in the state and to accelerate the establishment of farms and agri-businesses. On our part, we have started revamping the Agricultural Land Holding Authority, ALHA. We know that a lot of people have complaints about them, and we're retooling and we're rekitting this agency to be able to support investment in agriculture. We will also strengthen the coconut belt with increased private sector investment. I'm greatly encouraged by the interest already generated by this 5-year agricultural roadmap, and I hope it will be sustained and backed with concrete action on the part of our development partners and local and international community. I want to assure you that the Lagos State government is putting in place a deliberate incentive to make your investment safe, secure, and profitable. On this podium today, we've had the story of Olam that started 32 years ago in Lagos, and it's now in 70 countries. It started 32 years in Lagos and is in 70 countries now. The Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture, like she said, she's a product of Olam. Mr. Ramesh, who is the MD of TGI Group, coincidentally used to be Bisola's boss. He is also a product of Olam. And so you can see that putting our minds to this, a lot can happen. Not only Olam, TGI Group that started about 40 years ago, that are owners of Wakot, they have several chains of agri chains. They all started from Lagos. Is here Mr. Raul, and it's important for them to know where their root is, where their root started, and they cannot leave Lagos alone. It's not only them. The Stallion Group, all of these people started from Lagos, and they've taken the benefit, the economic benefit of Lagos to other part of the world, and of course, other part of the country. It's about time that Lagos is calling them back to their base, to see Lagos as home to each and every one of them. And we'll begin to see newcomers in the farm crowding industry in Thrive Agri. These are all new, innovative, tech-driven agricultural businesses that are also coming up in Lagos. We see that all of these synergies can help us drive this our 5-year roadmap. And I'm challenging all of them to see their home states as a place where they need to come back to and start this all over again. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited about the wealth we can all generate together. Our small land and our coastal resources notwithstanding, we've heard the story of Netherlands. So we cannot give excuse. We cannot continue to talk about our land space as the only problem. The next 5 years will be a productive one for us. The next 5 years will certainly be competitive, and it will be a transformational one for Lagos State to implement its agricultural roadmap. We are set to become the nation's agricultural powerhouse, not just economic powerhouse, agricultural powerhouse. And I invite you all to join us at making this history a reality. Before I end, let me highlight some of the landmark investment that we've also modestly put together in the state. The Lagos State Aquatic Center for Excellence, which is the LACE project, which is in collaboration with the private sector, and like Mr. Wale Edun said, is an 80-20 investment. The Lagos State intend to put a 20% there, and the private sector intend to put 80%. We believe that this investment will enhance and improve work for about 12,000 fish farmers, both in direct and indirect labor force when this project is fully operational. The Immortal Rice Mill, which has been extensively funded by the state government and also support from the CBN to the tune of about 18 billion on a concessionary loan, is almost nearing completion. I'm sure KBSU of Immortal is waiting for us to come over and cut the tape for that rice mill. This rice mill, we believe, will create about 250,000 direct and indirect jobs once it's commissioned. Finally, the Lagos State Food Production Center in Avia in Badagry and other statewide agricultural focus initiative, we believe it's another means to be able to provide about 100,000 jobs directly and indirectly for our teeming youth and for our women in Lagos State. The potentials and the establishment of a stakeholder in the agricultural sector are encouraged to partner with us in the aforementioned areas. I urge you to collaborate with us to transform our agricultural sector for food security, for wealth creation, for poverty eradication, for economic diversification, for a rapid industrialization, and for an accelerated social economic growth. I will not end this address without thanking some of our partners. I've mentioned some of the big companies that are doing great things in Lagos, but I also want to thank the panelists for coming up and for helping us to do justice to some of our thought process. I also want to stand and thank the governors of Niger and Kwara states who are collaborating with us with huge expanse of land in our agri chain. Our southwest states are hearing us. Lagos is open to that collaboration. That's why we've extended the invitation to them. We're willing to partner with you. We're willing to collaborate with our sister governors also in the southwest to be able to create that ecosystem where we all can be food sufficient and resilient. I also want to single out and thank the CBN governor who had continued to help us and work with us at ensuring that all of our great plans in the agri sector, it comes to reality. I would not end this without also thanking the Oniru of Oriuland, who was a one-time commissioner, and he worked with us at the beginning of this administration to start the conversation when Bisola was just a special advisor then. But of course, is to congratulate and to thank the very, very, very dynamic, very hardworking business Bisola Olusoya for leading the team with her colleagues in the Ministry of Agriculture, the Permanent Secretary, and everybody, all of our various consultants that has helped taking us to this level. I also want to thank all our great women in green and white today who are working with her to ensure that women in agriculture have a place, a rightful place, and that's what we stand for, and that's the collaboration we'll be expecting from you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is therefore my singular honor to launch the Lagos State 5-year agricultural and food security roadmap for the benefit of all of us, and to thank you all for your kind attention. God bless you all. Bega Ìpínlẹ̀ Èkó. Thank you. Take this.
Please, can we applaud Mr. Governor, even as I crave the indulgence of Mr. Deputy Governor, to please join Mr. Governor up on the podium and the Honorable Commissioner for the unveiling of the Lagos State Agricultural and Food Systems Roadmap. Please, can we applaud Mr. Governor, Mr. Deputy Governor, and the HC once again. A round of applause. A round of applause. At this point in time, please could you give Mr. Governor the microphone, as he will be unveiling, to the glory of God, and indeed, a filled stomach of Lagosians and Nigerians. Mr. Governor, sir, the roadmap will be unveiled by you.
So, to the glory of God, we'll unveil the launch of the Lagos State Agricultural and Food Systems Roadmap 2021 to 2025. Thank you. See, basis, Bisola, that's our 5-year roadmap that's just been unveiled. Can't you see it's wonderful? I think she deserves a round of applause again.
Mr. Governor, we crave your indulgence to please stay back because, yes, thank you very much. We'll have a photo session. Let's quickly take this one before the GAC members will be joining Mr. Governor. GAC members, please. All our GAC members, please could you join Mr. Governor and Mr. Deputy Governor and the Honorable Commissioner. Ushers, please could you help up our GAC members. Thank you. Please, can we quickly take that now? Thank you, sirs. Next, I'd like to invite our royal fathers, Kabiesi. Okay, Mr. Governor says the Kabiesi should please just... Our royal fathers should please join Mr. Governor and Mr. Deputy Governor and the Honorable Commissioner. Photographers. Thank you, Kabiesis. Next, the panelists. I'd like to invite our panelists to please join Mr. Governor for this photograph. Our panelists, Dr. Dare Awoshika, Mr. Yusuf Yila, Mrs. Tokima Bogunje, MD Ramesh, and of course, the moderator, Mr. Sam Egube. Thank you.
Ọpẹ́ méjì ó ṣe bójú ń pa òun ni ojú pàkí lágbàkan kó dágbàkan sí ojú pa mí kó má ṣe pọ̀ rẹ́ mi mọ́.
Thank you. At this point, I want to invite members of the State Executive Council to please join Mr. Governor. Members of the State Executive Council, please can you quickly join Mr. Governor? Members of the State Executive Council. Members of the State Executive Council, please. Okay, some members of the ESCO have gone up on the podium. Maybe those of us that have spilled over can please go up on the podium. Thank you.
Ìkàràmù ìgbé o kò níyà pín
Thank you. Thank you. PSCs would also like to, body of permanent secretaries, please. They like to celebrate this landmark. Body of permanent secretaries, please. Body of permanent secretaries, please. Photographers, quickly, please. And directors in the Agric Ministry, please. Quickly, Mr. Governor can be waiting for you. Directors, we're waiting for you, please. Photographers. Directors, please. Can we please allow the governor after this? Some can please climb up to the podium. We have less than 30 seconds for this, please. Please, can we settle down? Thank you very much, Mr. Governor. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Governor. Thank you, Honorable Commissioner. Even as you return to your seat, please can we applaud Mr. Governor, Mr. Deputy Governor, and the Honorable Commissioner. Thank you very much, sirs. Thank you very much. Thank you, sirs. Thank you, Mr. Governor. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Governor. Thank you, the Honorable Commissioner. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in time, I'd like to crave the indulgence of all present to please settle down as the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Hakeem Adeniji, will be coming up to give a closing remarks and move a formal vote of thanks. Please let us allow Mr. Governor and Mr. Deputy Governor return to their seats. Please let us allow Mr. Governor and Mr. Deputy Governor return to their seats. Please let us allow Mr. Governor and Mr. Deputy Governor return to their seats. Can we please settle down now, distinguished ladies and gentlemen? This event is far from being over. The Permanent Secretary will be giving the closing remarks and move a formal vote of thanks before our dignitaries will have the experiential walk through the ECO Food Security Exhibition. At this point in time, Mr. Governor, Mr. Deputy Governor, I will cede the microphone to the Permanent Secretary, Ministry of Agriculture, Mr. Hakeem Adeniji. Can we please put our hands together for the Permanent Secretary?
Thank you so very much. Mr. Governor, Mr. Deputy Governor, I want to thank Mr. Governor warmly for approving the production and the launch of our agricultural development roadmap today. I also want to thank Mr. Governor as he has already thanked everybody that I have listed in my vote of thanks to be thanked. But notwithstanding, I want to thank the Oba of Lagos, the chairman
of the Council of Obas in Lagos State, we thank you for leading all other high-caliber Obas to this event. The honorable members of the State House of Assembly, we thank you for finding time to come here, especially the Chairman House Committee on Agriculture and all the members that were here. Also, we thank all the members of the Executive Council here present and the body of Permanent Secretary, both in Lagos State and the state of Osun, Ogun, and Ekiti that were here. We thank you so very much for finding time to be here. All our stakeholders that were here, we know you are so very much and numerous to be mentioned one after the other. We thank you so very much for coming and witness this roadmap launch. We thank you, and by God's grace, we assure you that the roadmap shall be implemented as envisaged and as charged by Mr. Governor. We thank you and God bless you.
Thank you very much, the Permanent Secretary, Mr. Hakeem Adeniji. Mr. Governor, Mr. Babajide Olushola Sanwo-Olu, Mr. Deputy Governor, Dr. Kadari Obafemi Hamzat, the Honorable Commissioner for Agriculture, Ms. Abisola Olusonya, our KBACs here present, all our royal fathers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a privilege to invite you to please have the experiential walk through the Eco Food Security Exhibition. KBACs, please could you join Mr. Governor in this experiential work. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Governor. Thank you, Mr. Deputy Governor. Thank you, our royal fathers. Thank you very much. It's time to experience the Eco Food Security Initiative of Mr. Governor. It's time to experience it. At the food security exhibition, we have 6 projects in the markets area: the Imota Rice Mill, the Lagos Agripreneurship Program, the Red Meats Value Chain Transformation Agenda, the Lagos Food and Produce Market Systems, the Eco Farmer, and the Lagos Aquaculture Center, the fish sites. These are the places that we will be visiting at the exhibition stand, and it promises to be an experience like no other.
Eko akete idu ọgbọ́n. Eko akete idu ọgbọ́n. Arọmọdé kò má má já o. Eko arọmísà ẹgbẹ̀lẹ́gbẹ̀. Arọmọdé kò má má já. Eko arọmísà ẹgbẹ̀lẹ́gbẹ̀. Eko akete ilé ọgbọ́n. Eko akete ilé ọgbọ́n. Arọmọdé kò má má já o. Eko arọmísà ẹgbẹ̀lẹ́gbẹ̀. Arọmọdé kò má má sá o. Eko arọmísà ẹgbẹ̀lẹ́gbẹ̀. Kò má síjú tá o pè kówé. Àfirọ́ kò má síjú tá o pè kówé. Bekowe o kò má síjú tá o pè. Bébé tó sí tó. sí lúta òpè kòwé rárá kò má sí lúta òpè kòwé pèkòwé o kò má sí lúta òpè pèkòwé o bẹ́ẹ̀ ni Lagos nílé ó dára òun wá o Èkó nílé ó dára òun wá o ìbí kò nírajò kó fi dé ẹ sílẹ̀ ìkáràmù ìpín o kò níyàpín o Lagos nílé ó dára òun wá o. Animoja keke mo bure gbogba ogba o babaja mo mure di ọ̀pẹ ọ̀pẹ miti ó ṣe bójú ń pa àwọn ni ojo paki lágbá kan kó dágbá kan sí ojo pa mí kó má ṣe pọ̀ rẹ́ mi mọ́ Èkó Akété ìlú ọgbọ́n. Èkó Akété ìlú ọgbọ́n arọ́mọdé kó má má já o Èkó arómìsá lẹ́gbẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́ arọ́mọdé kó má má já Èkó arómìsá lẹ́gbẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́. Èkó Akété ilé ọgbọ́n Èkó Akété ilé ọgbọ́n arọ́mọdé kó má má já o Èkó arómìsá lẹ́gbẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́ arọ́mọdé kó má má sá o Èkó arómìsá lẹ́gbẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́ kò má síjú tá o pè kòwé àfirọ́ kò má síjú tá o pè kòwé pèkòwé o kò má síjú tá o pè pèpè tó sì tó. Kò má síjú tá o pè kòwé rárá kò má síjú tá o pè kòwé pèkòwé o kò má síjú tá o pè pèkòwé o bẹ́ẹ̀ ni Lagos nílé ó dára òun wá o Èkó nílé ó dára òun wá o ìbí kò nírajò kó fi dé ẹ sílẹ̀ ìkáràmù ìpín o kò níyàpín o Lagos nílé ó dára òun wá o. Animoja keke mo bure gbogba o babaja mo múre di ọ̀pẹ ọ̀pẹ miti ó ṣe bójú ń pa àwọn ni ojo paki lágbá kan kó dágbá kan sí ojo pa mí kó má ṣe pọ̀ rẹ́ mi mọ́ Èkó Akété ìlú ọgbọ́n. Èkó Akété ìlú ọgbọ́n arọ́mọdé kó má má já o Èkó arómìsá lẹ́gbẹ́lẹ́gbẹ́ arọ́mọdé kó má má já Èkó arómìsá akété ilé ọgbọ́n Èkó akété ilé ọgbọ́n arọ́mọdé dẹ́ kó má má já o Èkó arómísà ẹ̀gbẹ́lẹ̀gbẹ́ arọ́mọdé dẹ́ kó má má sá o Èkó arómísà ẹ̀gbẹ́lẹ̀gbẹ́ kò má síjú tá o pè kówé àpirọ́ kò má síjú tá o pè kówé kówé o kò má síjú tá o pè bébé ló sì tó. Kò má síjú tá o pè kówé rárá kò má síjú tá o pè kówé kówé o kò má síjú tá o pè kówé o bẹ́ẹ̀ ni Lagos nílé ó dára ó mú wá o Èkó nílé ó dára ó mú wá o ìpín kò nírajò kó fi dé ẹ sílẹ̀ ìkáràmù ìpín o kò níyàpín o Lagos nílé ó dára ó mú wá o. Kéké mo búre gbogbo ọgbà mo bàbàjà mo múre dí ọ̀pẹ ọ̀pẹ mìtì ó ṣe bójú ń pàwọn ni ojú pàkí lẹ́gbà kan kó dẹ́gbà kan sí ojú pa mí kó má ṣe pọ̀ lẹ́ẹ̀mí mọ́ Èkó akété ìlú ọgbọ́n. Èkó akété ìlú ọgbọ́n arọ́mọdé kó má má já o Èkó arómísà ẹ̀gbẹ́lẹ̀gbẹ́ arọ́mọdé kó má má sá Èkó arómísà ẹ̀gbẹ́lẹ̀gbẹ́. Èkó akété ilé ọgbọ́n Èkó akété ilé ọgbọ́n arọ́mọdé dẹ́ kó má má já o Èkó arómísà ẹ̀gbẹ́lẹ̀gbẹ́.
Making this is very good. Carry me away, far from the circles that never breaks. Baby, hey, hey. Going home. Where this road goes, I already know. Where everybody cares for one another, and to take you was just sister. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. What is going around? There's nothing in the crowd. I hope you see me when you say, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. so my mind could fly away. Houses getting small out the way up. My heart is on a day, moving on me on stage. 5 years of age and I'm not afraid. Hey, yeah. Going home, where this road goes, I already know. Where everybody cares for one another, and they take you as their brother. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. Why did you don't run around? There's laughing in the crowd. I hope you see me when you sing. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. Well, there's something in the song that makes you feel like home, and that's what's calling out my name. Hey yo, hey yo. Will you take me and embrace me as your? Will you take me and embrace me as your? Everybody. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, come on. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, come on. Where did you run around, just laughing in the crowd? I hope you see me make you say, hey yo, everybody sing with me. Oh, oh. Where did you run around, just laughing in the crowd? I hope you see me make you say, hey yo, yeah, 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 yeah. Where there's something in the sound that makes you feel at home, and that's what's calling out my name. Hey yo. So hurry up, I have to go. Looking round, you see all the people making noises very good. Carry me away, far from the circles and never breaks. Baby, hey, hey. Going home, where this road goes, I already know. Where everybody cares for one another, and they take you as their sister. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. Where did you run around, just laughing in the crowd? I hope you see me when you sing. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. Where there's something in the song that makes you feel at home, and that's what's calling out my name. Hey yo. So my mind could fly away. Houses getting small out the way up. My heart is on a day, moving on me on stage. 5 years of age and I'm not afraid. Hey yeah. Going home, where this road goes, I already know. Where everybody cares for one another, and they take you as their brother. Hey yo, hey yo, hey yo, hey yo. Where did you run around, just laughing in the crowd? I the children run around, just laughing in the crowd. I hope you still remain the same.